There was a time when you felt everything. A stranger's sadness could sit in your chest for hours. A harsh word from someone you loved would echo inside you for days. You walked into a room and immediately knew something was wrong even before anyone spoke. You carried emotions that weren't even yours, and you did it willingly because that's just who you were. But then something changed, and you can't quite explain when it started. Maybe it was gradual. Maybe it hit you all at once, one ordinary morning. But the person who once felt everything began to feel nothing. The tears stopped. The deep compassion that used to flood your body went quiet. Someone tells you something painful, and where there used to be an ocean of empathy, now there's just stillness, flat, empty. Like someone reached inside you and turned off a switch you didn't even know existed. And that terrifies you. Because if feeling deeply was who you were, then who are you without it? You start to wonder if something is wrong with you. If you become cold, selfish, broken, you look in the mirror and you see yourself, but you don't quite recognize the person staring back. And the worst part, you don't even feel upset about it. You just feel nothing. But here's what no one is telling you. You are not broken. You haven't lost your gift. According to Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, what you are experiencing may not be a collapse at all, but a profound transformation. One that most people will never understand, and fewer still will have the courage to go through. Today I'm going to share with you 7 Jungian insights that explain why the most deeply feeling people sometimes go completely numb, and why this unsettling silence inside you might be the most important thing your soul has ever done. So stay with me, because if you've been afraid that you've lost yourself, you may discover today that you are actually finally finding yourself. 1. Your psyche has a circuit breaker. Think about what happens when you plug too many things into one outlet. Eventually something trips. The power shuts off. Not because the system is broken, but because the system is protecting itself from burning out. Your psyche works the same way. Jung understood that the human mind has a built-in defense system. He called it psychic self-regulation. When the conscious mind becomes overwhelmed, flooded with too much emotion, too much input, too much of other people's pain, the unconscious steps in and does something drastic. It shuts the feeling down, not permanently, not cruelly, but necessarily. For years, maybe decades, you absorbed everything. You were the one people came to when they were hurting. You were the friend who always listened, the partner who always understood, the child who sensed tension before anyone said a word. And you never stopped. You never put it down. You just kept feeling and feeling and feeling until one day your psyche said, enough. I'm pulling the plug before you destroy yourself. That numbness you feel, it is not emptiness. It is emergency rest. Your soul did not abandon you. It put you in a kind of psychic hibernation so you could survive what your conscious mind refused to stop doing on its own. And here is the part that matters most. This is not weakness. This is intelligence, deep, ancient, unconscious intelligence. 2. The persona finally cracked. Jung taught that we all wear a mask. He called it the persona, the version of yourself you show to the world. And for empaths, this mask is particularly heavy because the empath's persona is built around being available, being warm, being the one who feels. You became so good at this role that everyone believed it, including you. You thought that feeling everything was your identity, that your worth came from your ability to absorb other people's emotions and transform them into comfort and care. But the persona is not the self. It is a performance. And every performance eventually exhausts the performer. What happened to you is not that you stopped caring. What happened is that the mask finally cracked under its own weight. The version of you that smiled through exhaustion, that said, "I'm fine," while drowning, that made space for everyone else while shrinking your own world down to nothing, that version could not hold any longer. And when the persona cracks, it feels like death. Because you don't yet know who you are underneath it. You only know who you were pretending to be. So the numbness is not the absence of feeling. It is the silence between two versions of yourself. The old one has fallen. The new one has not yet arrived. And in that gap, there is nothing. Just stillness. Just waiting. 3. The shadow is demanding to be seen. Here is where it gets deeper. Jung said that everything we suppress, every emotion we deny, every need we ignore, every boundary we refuse to set, all of it sinks into what he called the shadow. And the shadow does not disappear. It waits. It accumulates. It grows. For the empath, the shadow is enormous, because what does the empath suppress more than anything? Their own anger, their own pain. You spent so long attending to others that you pushed your own feelings into the basement of your psyche and locked the door. And now the shadow is full. It is heavy. It is pressing against that door with everything it has. The numbness is what happens when the shadow gets so large that it begins to block the flow of all feeling. Not just the dark feelings, but the light ones too. Joy, tenderness, connection. They all go quiet because the channel is clogged with everything you refuse to feel for yourself. Jung would say, this is not a disaster. This is an invitation. The shadow is not your enemy. It is a messenger, and its message is simple. You cannot keep giving from a well you never fill. You cannot keep feeling for others what you will not feel for yourself. The numbness will not lift until you turn around and face what you've been avoiding, your own grief, your own rage, your own hunger to be seen and held the way you've held everyone else. 4. You are experiencing a death before rebirth. In Jungian psychology, transformation never comes gently. It comes through what Jung called the dark night of the soul, a period where the old self dissolves before the new self can emerge. And dissolution feels exactly like what you are going through right now. Flatness, disconnection, a strange sense that the life you were living no longer belongs to you. This is not depression in the clinical sense, though it can look identical from the outside. This is a psychological death. The empath you were, the one who absorbed everything, who had no boundaries, who defined themselves entirely through feeling, that version of you is dying, and it needs to die, because it was never sustainable. It was never whole. Jung believed that the psyche destroys what is incomplete, so it can rebuild something more integrated, more honest, more real. The caterpillar does not simply grow wings. It dissolves into liquid first. It loses all form, all structure, all identity. And in that formless darkness, something entirely new is being assembled. You are in the liquid stage, and I know it is terrifying. But you are not falling apart. You are being restructured. 5. Your boundaries are being born. Here is something no one told you. The numbness is not just a shutdown. It is your psyche's first attempt at building boundaries. Think about it. You never had real boundaries before. You felt everything. You let everything in. Other people's moods, their expectations, their pain, it all moved through you like water through a net. And because feeling was so natural, so automatic, you never learned how to say no to it. So your unconscious, did it for you. It built a wall where you could not. That emotional flatness you feel, that inability to cry, that strange distance from people you used to merge with, it is a boundary, a crude one, a temporary one, but a boundary nonetheless. Jung understood that individuation, the process of becoming your true self, requires separation. You must learn where you end and other people begin. And for the empath who has spent a lifetime blurred into everyone around them, this is the hardest lesson of all. The numbness is not permanent, but the boundary it is teaching you to build must be. Because when feeling does return, and it will, you will need to know how to feel without disappearing into it, how to care without losing yourself, how to love others without abandoning the person who needs your love the most. You. 6. The feeling function is resetting. Jung identified 4 primary functions of the psyche: thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. For the empath, feeling has always been the dominant function. It was your compass, your language, your way of navigating the world. But when any single function becomes too dominant, it creates an imbalance, and the psyche will always move toward balance, even if it has to force a correction. What you are experiencing is a reset. Your feeling function has been running at full capacity for so long that it overheated, and now it has gone temporarily offline so the other functions can catch up. You may notice that during this numb period, your thinking becomes sharper, your observations become more detached, but more precise. You start to see patterns in your relationships that you were too emotionally flooded to notice before. This is not you becoming cold. This is you becoming complete. Jung called it the transcendent function, the emergence of something new from the tension between opposites. The opposite of overwhelming feeling is not permanent numbness. It is balanced awareness, and that is where you are headed. 7. You are not losing your gift. You are refining it. And this is the truth I want to leave you with. The empath who felt everything and now feels nothing is not at the end of their story. They are at the turning point. The old empathy was raw, unfiltered, boundaryless. It was beautiful, but it was also destructive because it consumed you. What is coming next, if you allow this process to unfold, is something far more powerful. An empathy that is grounded, chosen, sustainable. An empathy that does not require you to bleed in order to care. Jung would call this the integration of opposites. You are learning to hold both feeling and stillness, openness and boundary, compassion for others and compassion for yourself. And when those opposites finally come together, what emerges is not the old you and not the numb you, but the whole you. The version of you that feels deeply but is no longer destroyed by it. So, if you are in that silent place right now, if you are staring at a world that used to move you to tears and wondering why you feel nothing, hear this. Your soul has not gone quiet because it has nothing left to say. It has gone quiet because it is preparing to speak in a voice you have never heard before. Your own. The numbness is not your ending. It is your intermission. And when the curtain rises again, you will not be the same person who sat down. You will be someone you have waited your entire life to meet. Be patient with yourself. The silence is not empty. It is full of answers, and they are coming.